to the cross. I pray that as you view this video you are able to put on your empathy shoes so you can feel Jesus' crucifixion with your heart and not your head. After the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. While Jesus was praying, one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, arrived with soldiers and officials. Judas had previously arranged to identify Jesus by giving him a kiss, which signaled to the soldiers which person to arrest. The soldiers arrested Jesus and took him to be questioned and tried before the religious authorities. Jesus was brought before Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin. During the trial, the chief priests and elders accused Jesus of blasphemy and planning to destroy the temple in Jerusalem. Jesus remained silent during the trial, but when Caiaphas asked him if he was the Messiah, the Son of God, Jesus replied, "You have said it yourself. But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." Jesus' statement was seen as an admission of guilt. The Sanhedrin charged Jesus with blasphemy and handed him over to the Roman authorities for execution. Jesus was taken to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. The Sanhedrin wanted Jesus to be sentenced to death for claiming to be the Son of God. Pontius Pilate questioned Jesus and found no evidence of any wrongdoing, but because he was under pressure from the Jewish leaders and feared a revolt, he passed the decision to Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee, who was visiting Jerusalem at the time. Herod Antipas interrogated Jesus and found no reason to execute him. He sent him back to Pontius Pilate. Pilate was hesitant but feared the Jewish leaders, so he sentenced Jesus to death by crucifixion. Pontius Pilate knew Jesus was innocent, but he ordered him to be scourged. Jesus was whipped with a whip that had pieces of bone or metal embedded in the tips of the lashes. This horrific and painful punishment leaves its victim severely weakened and sometimes dead, but Jesus managed to endure it so he could fulfill his purpose of dying for the sins of the world. The soldiers who watched Jesus being whipped mocked him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and placed a purple robe on his shoulders. They also placed a staff in his right hand and knelt in front of him, mocking him and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." They did this to humiliate and ridicule Jesus because they did not believe he was the Messiah, the Son of God. Jesus was then forced to carry his own cross to Golgotha or Calvary, which means the place of the skull, where he was nailed to the cross between two thieves and left to die. After several hours of suffering on the cross, Jesus died, Good Friday. Just before his death, Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Jesus' body was taken down from the cross and placed in a tomb. The tomb was owned by a wealthy man named Joseph of Arimathea, who was a follower of Jesus. They sealed the tomb with a large stone, and Roman soldiers were posted outside to guard it to make sure Jesus' disciples would not be able to steal his body and claim that he had risen from the dead. On the third day, Easter Sunday, Mary Magdalene and other women went to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body with spices, but they found the stone rolled away and the tomb empty. An angel appeared to the women and told them that Jesus had risen from the dead, and instructed them to go and tell the disciples. Jesus then appeared to the women and to his disciples, proving that he had risen from the dead. He showed them his wounds, ate with them, and spoke to them before ascending into heaven, promising to return one day. We all will have our own cross to bear. Life will happen and everyone will have struggles and hardships that are unique to them. Some of us may have to bear our crosses for a long time, but just like Jesus, the reward will be greater than the suffering. Life is not always easy, but with God on our side, we can face the challenges with strength and resilience. Thank you for stopping by. Please like, share, and subscribe. God loves you and so do I.